Yo everyone, welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to the podcast. If you haven't been here before, then welcome for the first time. Today is a little bit different to what I usually talk about on this channel. Usually I talk about things pertaining to Jesus and pertaining to the Bible and teaching or giving wisdom rather than being a teacher to you, things that I've learned or observed in God in my life with Christ. But today I wanted to encourage people who may be interested in Christianity or maybe haven't thought about it. I am a 17-year-old young man who is a Christian. I'm not a Christian because my parents took me to church and because I've grown up in it. Even though I've had a bit of exposure to it, I went to a Catholic primary school, but I didn't really observe anything from it. I didn't live it. We never went to church really when I was a child. But I'm a Christian by choice. I'm a Christian because God has encountered me and I have come to Christ. My faith is my own. And I don't say this right now to be arrogant or prideful. I say this to be an example for you. So I want to help any of you who are interested in seeking Christ and seeking God, or even those of you who believe there is no God. I'm not here to convince you today that there is, because there are plenty of others who are better at that than I am. There are also plenty of videos on my channel where I talk about things pertaining to Christianity. But don't just take me as your spiritual guide. Don't just take me as your source of wisdom and truth and understanding in this world. If you want to investigate these claims, I would highly encourage that you look into apologetics and look into the arguments for the existence of God, because I don't want you lot to be scared into believing into Christianity. I want you to truly believe it, to truly feel it, to truly understand what religions believe. Don't even just study Christianity, study other religions. I believe Christianity is the only truth, but I was only able to come to that conclusion because I looked into the claims of other religions and I looked into the claims of Christianity and I compared them. And I looked at what I deemed to be the most correct message, what I felt and what I knew in my spirit to be true. Don't just listen to what people tell you on the internet to believe. I believe Christianity is the truth, so this video will be spoken through a Christian lens. But don't just take my word for the things that are being said. Go and speak to people who are educated, speak to God, and really just put your mind into this. Before I get into this video, I want to stress that this is the most important decision you'll ever make in your life. Seriously, if there is a heaven and a hell, if there is all this stuff that is true, if there is a God, then your interaction with him and the way that you act with this God is going to be the most important thing you do in this life. If there is eternity, if there is a place that you go, then what you do in this life matters. There is purpose behind it. This is the most important thing you'll ever do in your life. So I'm just stressing that before we begin. So how did I get here? Well, a year ago I struggled with people pleasing, I struggled with lust, I struggled with so many different issues. I was addicted to watching adult videos, I was addicted to my phone. And I was just what I would put plainly, a loser, a clone. I was like everyone else. And the only thing that was able to break me out of this was Christ. Now, I didn't use this as a coping mechanism. I never came to Christ because I was coping. No, I coped before that, well before that. Before I came to Christ, I was going through a self-improvement journey. I was in the gym, I was thinking, I don't need them, I don't need those people, blah, 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 blah. Folly. Complete, just nothing in it. I just thought, I'll just do what I do and then see what happens. And that's a mindset I think a lot of people have. They just think, oh, screw them, I'll just live my life and see what happens. But one day my life changed when I just felt a calling by the Spirit of God to pray, to ask God for wisdom, for knowledge, to seek God. I didn't really find this because I was seeking it. It just happened. Seriously, I was just in my room in the holidays, so much time off, like weeks off of school. And I just get this conviction to pray out of nowhere. I knew hardly anything about Christianity or about God in general. All I knew about Christianity was Jesus died for the sins of this world. That was about it. I didn't know any scripture or anything. But what I didn't know was that the Bible talks about this. Psalm 46:10 says, "Be still and know that I am God." When I was still, when I had no distractions in my life, I started to hear the voice of God. I started to seek God completely out of nowhere. Seriously, I just started praying. I started reading the Bible. I started looking into Islam and other things. All because I was still. All because there was nothing going on in my life. I'm serious. I literally didn't really interact with my friends or anything for like a month. I didn't hang out with them for like an entire month during this time off because I was called to study. I didn't do this intentionally. It just happened. But that's how God worked in my life. I say this not just to be prideful or arrogant. I say this to encourage you that even though you may not know much about God, you can still seek Him. God doesn't care about your intelligence, about how much you know already. You seek Him by talking to Him. You seek Him by first starting in prayer. That is the most important way to seek God. If you want a relationship with God, if you want to know God, and you have a feeling in your heart, you have a feeling in your spirit, then I would encourage you to pray. Start there, because prayer is the most simple communication we can have. It's the most simple way we can sort of start to understand God, because there are all these religious texts out there and it can be so overwhelming. But prayer is a key part of a relationship with God, no matter what religion seems to be the truth. And so if you want to start to seek God, if you feel this calling in your heart, pray. Ask God, because if there is this all-powerful God that exists, right? Entertain me for a second. If there is this all-powerful God, then you don't need to be in a certain place or a certain lifestyle to reach Him. He will hear you. If there is an all-powerful God who created the universe, who made you, He will hear you at your bedside. This is what it says in Matthew 6:6. Go to your room, shut the door, and pray to your Father who is in secret, and He will reward you openly. He will be there for you. If you want to seek God, pray. That's when everything changed in my life. That's when my life started to move. I never went through that moment where I felt like I lost everything. I hit rock bottom, as some people do, and I prayed. No, I just started. I didn't go through that experience of losing everything. I lost a lot. I lost friends prior to coming to Christ. I went through that self-improvement phase, like I just said, so I was focused on myself and my ego, really. But I realized it was folly. I realized it was all for nothing. I realized it didn't have an actual end in sight. Just before I go further, I want to say, when you pray to God, if there is a true God, which I believe to be the case, this God will not always give you everything you want. He's not a genie in a bottle. He's capable of doing that, most certainly, but He's not going to, because what you want is not always what's good for you. God will provide you with what you need, which is not always what you want, but He will make sure that you are provided for. Even if you have very little, He will make sure you have what you need. And that's the point I wanted to get onto. A lot of teenagers like me are afraid of what they will lose if they seek God. A lot of teenagers are afraid of how they'll be perceived if they come to follow Christ, if they come to follow God in general, if they become this religious person. First off, a relationship with God is not just about religion. It's not just about practices. It's about an actual connection with the divine, with the creator. So it's not just you going to church. It's about a true connection with him in your private life. So things will change. If you don't know, there was this Christian missionary called Jim Elliot, a young man who was martyred for sharing the gospel of Jesus Christ. And he has this very, very famous quote, which says, "He is no fool who gives what he cannot keep to gain what he cannot lose." Nothing you can have in this life, nothing you can perceive that is a part of your life today is going to survive to the end. Everything will pass away. Everything will decay, will die. Nothing will last forever. So holding on to it is foolish. But giving it up to seek God is the most intelligent thing you could do. And I'm not saying throw out literally every physical thing. But God is above every physical thing. God is above everything that you have, everything that you could want in this life, from a position of materialism, right? Materialism won't satisfy you. You've heard it a million times. Money can't buy you happiness. It's cliche for a reason. It's because it can't. It will never be enough. Maybe you don't have $1 million, but you've been on your phone before, right? You've been on social media and you've scrolled and you've wasted hours away, right? I've done it too. We've done it so many times. If it were really enough, would we do it more than once? Would we be on these apps for hours a day at a time, every single day? No, we wouldn't, because it's not. It's not enough. That's the whole point. Everything that we chase after in this world is never enough. We think it will be one day, but no, it's not. The only thing that is always enough and will always be enough is a relationship with the God that created you. Because that's done. Like, as soon as you've got that, you don't want to lose it, because it's the greatest thing you could ever have. And you can't even tangibly hold it in your hands. It's inside of you. It's your spirit, bro. It's so different. Because it's not a physical thing. It's spiritual. It's all in your mind. It's all in your soul. You have this connection with the God that made you. It's immaterial, but it's the greatest thing you could ever hold on to. Because no one can take it away from you. Your money, your work, your phone, whatever it is you have that is the biggest thing you care about in your life, it can be taken away in an instant. Not a relationship with your maker. You are no fool to give up what you cannot keep to gain what you cannot lose. Now, I want to hand to you another proposition here. It's a bit of a scary one, but it was what encouraged me, really. It was a big encouragement when I was seeking God. If you died today, would you go to heaven or hell? If there was a heaven or hell, where would you go? And this is the thing, right? We never think we're going to be the guy that dies early. We never think we're going to die in our 20s, but it happens. It's the reality of this sinful world we live in. Tragedies happen. Everyone thinks they're going to have a long life and they're going to meet the life expectancy, which in most Western countries is 70, 80, 90 even. But that doesn't always happen. A lot of people die earlier than they're supposed to, than the life expectancy. Tragedies happen. And the whole point I'm making here is you don't know how much time you have left. You don't know if you're going to even wake up tomorrow, right? You don't know the future. It's a humbling thought. It can be scary, but it's humbling at the same time. James 4:14 says, "What is your life? For you are a mist that appears for a little time and then disappears." Your life is so short. Seriously, it is infinitely small compared to eternity, right? just entertain for a second that there is eternity. It is infinitely small. It's a minuscule just portion of it. 80 years, 90 years, that's what you can expect for most Western countries. It's not long. And I say this to say, if you don't have much time, why waste it? If you don't know how much time you have left, why waste it? Why wait, put off a relationship with God till later? Because that's what a lot of people do, right? They think, I'll just put off a relationship with God until I'm in my 20s or 30s, when I'm about to have a family, have kids. But why not start now? Especially when you don't know when you're going to pass. And we believe as Christians that one day Jesus will come back. And that can be 5 years from now, 5 days from now. We don't know. So why put it off? If these religions are making claims that there will be an end of times and that there is an eternal life, and that you're only getting there if you adhere to the right religion, you should probably take those claims seriously. I know it sounds scary, but open your heart really, because the God of the Bible, the God of Christianity, I would highly recommend to be the true God, right? Because he loves us so much that he sent his only son to die so that we could be forgiven, so that we could immediately be justified before the Father. You don't have to do anything of your own work to get to heaven in the Christian worldview, right? You get there simply by believing and confessing and turning away from your sin. But before I get too far down the road, seek God. Seriously, seek him out. I can't stress this enough. You don't know how much time you have. You don't know how long you will live. You don't know anything about your future, really. You have plans, but when did plans ever go perfectly how you plan them out, right? Especially in life. There's so many unaccounted for variables that happen. And so don't put it off. Seriously, I want to encourage you not to put this off. If you're having this calling in your heart, if you're having this feeling, don't waste time. Every day that you have is a blessing. Every day you have is something that is not owed to you. You don't get it because you're good enough. You don't get it because you've done all this good. Each one of us has fallen short. Each one of us has done something that we regret or that we feel guilty about. And so do not take this all on your own. And don't put it off. If you're struggling, if you're thinking about this, don't waste time. I would encourage you, if you're looking for spiritual guidance, if you're looking to seek God, pray, but also ask for help. Don't be afraid to ask for help. There are so many wise individuals out there who actually know what they're talking about. If you have questions or problems with apologetics, believing in a God or believing in Christianity or whatever, believing in certain religions, you should probably ask the people who are actually qualified, who their whole job is to read and to preach the gospel, or to preach Islam, or to preach Hinduism, whatever. Again, I believe Christianity is the truth. But if you have questions that you find to be difficult to understand or to answer, you should probably ask the people whose job it is to answer those questions. If you have a problem with Christianity, go ask a priest or a preacher or a pastor, whatever. Contact a local church and ask the guy who is in charge, the guy who has all this wisdom, who's studied this. Same goes for Islam, same goes for the Hindus or Buddhists, whatever. Ask people whose job it is to teach that spirituality. Look to scholars, look to guys who actually take this as their job. Don't just look to the random guy, me, or anyone else that you see on YouTube or TikTok. I'm merely a product of what I've observed and what I've been taught. But there are people who are far wiser than I. Usually old people, or people who are well into their faith. They have the answers, or what they deem to be the answers. And then it comes to your own interpretation. Do not be disheartened from studying. Do not be disheartened from putting in the hard work. I know a lot of people struggle with studying and reading and all sorts of things. I've never had that problem personally, so I sympathize. But don't let that be the barrier that keeps you from potential eternity. Don't let that get in the way of a relationship with your Creator. There is a way. There is truth. There isn't just this subjective stuff. There is objective truth. And you can find it. It's not going to be easy, but when is anything that's worthwhile in this life actually easy? And so, even though it may be hard, even though you may have trouble with studying, don't be disheartened, right? Don't give up. Because, as I have said many times in this video, this is the most important thing you will ever have to decide on in your life. Whether there is or isn't a God, whether there is a true spirituality. And I pray that you will find what you deem to be the truth. And I pray seriously that it is Christianity, but if it is not, then that's how it goes. All I can do is encourage you in what I believe to be the truth, right? And if you disagree with me, you disagree with me. That's how it is. One of us, maybe both of us, are going to be wrong. But that's how it goes, right? This is all we've got. And we've got to make the most informed and most likely decision we believe to be the case. So seriously, I encourage you to really push through this, even though it may be difficult. Do not be afraid of what other people think of you, because eternity matters far more than today, if eternity is the case. I love you all. God bless you. And may you seek after God and be unafraid to do so. Love you.